that you're still showing up. That is amazing. And your students are so lucky to have you, someone who cares about what you're doing and your level of instruction so much that you're taking some time on your own to learn some new ideas. So way to go. Take a moment to acknowledge yourself and how hard you work, and just know that it's going to pay off and you're going to have an amazing and rocking school year because of all that you do. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being amazing. All right, so let's get started today. Today we're talking about engaging vocabulary activities. Now, vocabulary doesn't have to be boring. You don't have to just give them a worksheet and say on Monday and say we're quizzing on Friday. Hey, I've been there. I've done that. So I think when I started teaching EC, special ed, I knew that doing that wasn't working for my students. So I had to come up with some other ways to engage them so they understood the words. And I didn't want them to just have the word and match it to the definition. I really wanted them to have an understanding of these words. So because of that, I don't give a list of 20 words. In fact, I only give 7 words because I give 7, and then the weeks that follow, I give what we call 3 blasts from the past. So they have their 7 new words plus 3 random words from previous weeks to total up to 10 words. Because I don't want to overwhelm them, and I really want them to understand these words. All right, so let's talk about, first off, where do I get my words? Because that's another question people ask. When this vocabulary unit that I have, maybe you've seen it, it's the year-long vocabulary bundle. It's in my ELA Unlimited site. Where I got the words is I looked at 100 words middle schoolers should know, so I went there. And then I also looked at the text that we read, some of those core words that keep showing up that I feel like students should know. And then just general words that we've talked about that sometimes they're like, what is she saying? You know, like they don't understand some of the basic words that I use in class that I feel are basic, but they are like, why you talk so fancy, Miss Kepley? And I don't think it's fancy at all. So I try to pick a combination of all of those words to help them build their vocabulary base. All right, let's talk about how I teach vocabulary. So first, we prime the pump. When they come in on Monday typically, I give them 7 sentences. You're like, wait, I thought this wasn't a worksheet thing. Well, this part kind of is, but I think the payoff is where the engaging part comes in. So these 7 sentences have our 7 new vocabulary words in them. And what they do at their tables is they try to figure out the meaning of the bold words in each sentence based on how it's used. So context clues, basically. I tell them just to make a guess. There's no right, well, there is a right or wrong answer, but don't be afraid to write down what you think. There's no fear here, no judgment. I want to know what you think the word means based on how it's used in the sentence. So they write it down, they read the sentences with their table, they write down what they think it means. Then, the next day, they come in and I show them the word, the definition, and they look at their paper and they're like, oh, we're right. Oh, I can see how you got that. So they build a connection. If they're right, they're like, yes, I got this word. If they're wrong, they can see why or how they got it wrong. So it helps build a stronger connection and understanding. So I show them the word and the definition on the smartboard, and then I connect it to an image or a GIF? I don't know. I never know what that's called. But I try to find a funny or engaging GIF that goes with the word. So I find that, I put it with a sentence, and we show them how to use the word in a sentence. During that time, that's when they write it in their notebook. So they'll write the word in their notebook, they'll write what it means, and then they'll write their own image, or they can copy the one that I have next to it. So word, definition image goes in their notebook on day 2 when I show them the slides. On day 3, this is where things kind of start to get a little bit more fun. We get them up and moving because someone wants to sit the whole time, right? I don't want to sit for an hour class. They don't want to either. So here's how I do it. We call it word up because everybody gets up. So they stand up, they push in their chairs. On the smartboard, I show them the word and the definition, and then I teach them a motion that goes with it. For example, if the word was precarious, precarious means unsafe, unsteady. So I would show them precarious, unsafe, unsteady. Then I would say unsafe, unsteady. Then I do the motion. Whoa, precarious. And then they do it with me. I say unsafe, unsteady. Everybody, whoa, precarious. Well, you'll always have some too cool for school 8th grader who's like, I ain't doing that. And then I tell them, I'm 39 years old, y'all. I stand up and teach all day, usually in heels. You're going to stand up and do this activity with me. And then we do it until everybody does it. Now, I praise people who are like extra at it. I'm like, oh, look at Jackson, he's so extra. Maybe like a little high five or fist bump, or have them come up and do it with me. So praise, praise, praise. Students love praise. I also tell them that we're all doing it. So everybody's going to look silly together. So there's no point in not doing it because then you're like standing out for not doing it. But usually we have everybody do it because it's the culture that we create in the classroom. Just show them the word, show them the definition, teach them the motion, and then we just repeat. I keep adding on a word. So let's say our next word was, I don't know, nourish. I was trying to think of a word that we have. Nourish. Nourish means to grow and develop. So I would say to grow and develop, and then I teach them the motion. It's like a watering can. We go, nourish. So, like you're watering yourself, nourish. And then I go back to the slide before. Unsafe, unsteady. Whoa, precarious. So by the end, they're doing all 7 words with the motion. Now a key to this is to tell them to do the word and, say the word and do the motion at the same time. I was like, on your quiz on Friday, if you see a sentence that has precarious in it, you can't just go like this. I need you to know that unsafe, unsteady means precarious. So say the word as you do the motion. They will love this. I promise. I love it. They love it. They like getting up and moving around. In fact, I have a video to show you that shows me doing this with the class. Here it is. Stay away from something. Obey. Good. Perfect condition. Completely clean. Pristine. Good. Unsafe. Unsteady. Whoa. Precarious. Easily taught or controlled. All something got me done. So good. To track something by offering something. Entice. Perfect. Very, very sad or serious. Put off until the last minute. Procrastinate. That class that you just saw was a group of transition students. So it's a group of students who failed the previous year, who were way too cool for school, let me tell you. But they got up and did these activities and they liked it. They had their hoods up because I didn't want to see their faces or anything. But you can kind of see them doing it, and they did it. And you see me standing in the chair. The more enthusiastic and excited you are about this activity, they'll be excited too. Now, people ask me all the time, where do you come up with your motions? I just try to think of something that goes with the word. That's it. It's nothing fancy. There's no science behind it. I just try to find a motion. I'm like, if I saw precarious, what would that look like? And then I try to come up with a motion to go with it. So I'm going to teach you some hands-on activities that you can do with your students to review your vocabulary words. I'm going to teach you 3. So here we go. First one is called write it, pass it, say it. So I have my supplies here. So what you do is you write the word in the middle. So let's say our word is avert. So at their tables, one person writes it in the middle. Now you can use paper or you can use a whiteboard, whatever works for you. And then what they do is they write it and then they pass it. So then the next person has to either write a synonym or an antonym to go with the word. And then they pass it and then the next person has to write a synonym or an antonym. And they keep doing this until the 30-second timer goes off. Now, let's say you have a student that kind of freaks out and they can't think of anything. That's okay. Someone at their group can share a word with them. Now, here's where it gets fun. When the 30-second timer goes off, they have to pick one of their words and they'll circle it. They pick one word they think nobody else has. And really quick, I go to each table. I'll say, what's your super special word? And they tell me. If nobody else has it, they get like 500 points. I don't know, I just make up the points. We go to table 2. If nobody else has it, they get points, and so forth. So that keeps them quiet and writing and passing. By writing and passing, everybody has to do work, not just one person sits and writes it. So you write and pass. Stay quiet so nobody else hears the words that you're saying because you might get 500 points. They love it. It's a lot of fun. Now, if you're doing remote learning, or some social distance learning, you can kind of do this digitally. So you can have them they can share a Google slide. You can write the word in the middle, and then they can all work to write their ideas around the word in text boxes, and then you can still call on them and say, what did y'all get that you think is super special? So you could do it on a shared Google slide. All right, second thing, it's called Around the World. So what you'll do is you get these little lunch bags. They're super cheap. You write the word on the outside. Again, set the timer for 30 seconds. At each table has a different bag with the word on the outside and little slips of paper. So when the timer starts, students have to write down a word, like a synonym or an antonym, and throw it in the bag. And write down a synonym or an antonym and throw it in the bag. And they keep doing as many as they can until the timer goes off. Then they'll get up and move to the next table that has a different word, and they do the same thing. Now, when they get all the way back around to their original table, they'll dump them out and then give them a couple minutes to separate the words into synonyms, antonyms, and things that just don't make sense, because you'll have some of those sometimes. And then you can even have them pick out their favorite one and share it with the class. Now, if you're doing some distance or social distancing things, you can still do this with a Google slide. Just each group has to start on a different Google slide, and then they can go back, they can just transition through the slide. So if I started on slide 2, after the timer goes off, I'll move to slide 3 and just keep going like that. And then I would probably put tables on it as well. Maybe something that looks like this. I'm going to show you a little something. All right, so here's an example of maybe a Google slide that I would do with this activity. So students would write something, turn away, and then they would drag it down to the thing, to the bag, or avoid, and then they would drag it down when they're done. You can see there's the table on there, so this is table 1. So when they get done, they'll go to table 2 slides, which would be down here. I just haven't created all of them just for this example. And then when they get done with all of the slides, the groups would come back here and they would unpack the bag, and then they can separate it between synonyms, antonyms, and then maybe drag over here ones that don't make sense. So there you go. Maybe that's something I would do. I've never had to do this digitally, but that's just an idea to help you. All right, third activity is called Sort It. So you give each group an envelope. Inside the envelope are slips of paper. On the slips of paper are their vocabulary word, synonym, antonym. All 7 of them have vocabulary words, synonym, antonyms. So you will have 21 slips of paper that go into the envelopes. Now, when you say go, each group dumps out the envelope, and then they have to try to sort it and try to be the first group that gets all the words matched with the synonym and the antonym. If they think they get it right, raise your hand. You go check. If they get something wrong, tell them, and then they can fix it. If I was going to do this digitally, I would make text boxes that have words, synonym, antonyms, jumble them up on the screen on a Google slide, and they have to drag and sort. All right, finally, I have my students apply the word. Now, we do this several ways. Now, I think the best way is writing sentences, but that doesn't sound fun to a lot of students, and that's okay. To make it fun, give them a fun setting. So it could be a toilet paper factory or a pickle salesman. So each sentence has to have that element in there, and it's a lot of fun. And then they can work together and come up with sentences. You could even use Padlet, and they can share their favorite sentence, and it goes up on the smartboard for everybody to see. So there's some ideas for you. Now let's talk about how I do the quizzes. Now my quizzes are not matching, and if you're a member of ELA Unlimited and you have seen my vocabulary quizzes, you can attest to this. It's not matching our basic stuff. I have them pick out which sentence uses the word correctly or incorrectly, or pick out synonyms or antonyms, or use the word in an analogy, or how the sentence is used, what does the word mean based on how it's used in the sentence. All right, that's it. That's 5 engaging strategies, plus some 3 tips right here that you can start using some hands-on activities to teach vocabulary. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you tonight at 8 p.m. to answer them.